All right, Sun and Mercury in Virgo. This is oh god, this is definitely one of my favorite placements ever. And my mentor, or well, I guess previous mentor, a great friend of mine, still always will be, Teresa, who I've done a couple videos with, who's an amazing tarot reader and astrologer, uh, metaphysician, is this combination. And throughout life, when I've met a couple other people with this energy, and it's been really lovely. And I think that's important to start out. I usually start out that way with all my videos, really, with the positives, of course, Gemini, Mercury, Gemini. But I think it's especially poignant to mention that at the beginning of this video, because not everybody understands this combination, and it's frustrating, especially from my point of view. Again, I'm Gemini, Mercury, Gemini. This is square your guys' energies, Sun in Virgo, Mercury, Virgo, but still mercurially based. So I'm the other side of basically your guys' coin, of being ruled by this side of Mercury. So I'm a lot. We both have the mercurial intelligence, the analytical ability, the pattern recognition. We just go about it in different ways. And I really prize actually the Virgo's perspective, because whereas this is all my Leos making this about me, but the comparison's apt, I feel, and I think you'll benefit from it. Is whereas Gemini is more people oriented, more likes to speak, likes to communicate, and likes to talk about things that aren't necessarily the most serious or most pressing, most practical of tasks. That is where Virgo's intelligence shines. And that is a huge gift in so many ways. It enables you guys to be problem solvers like nobody's business. Your whole predisposition, let alone if you have other Virgo factors, say Venus and Virgo, Mars and Virgo, which would make this even more so. Having the Sun and Mercury alone in Virgo makes you incredibly task oriented, incredibly intelligent, and very able to again, just to fix problems. The challenge is this, and this is, I see this time and time again, and it's unfortunate, is as much as you guys can be sociable with other people, as much as you can connect with them, and truly there's a great humility that allows you innately to connect to people, whoever they may be, and to also get past your own intelligence, which is so beautiful and very important for air signs, for example, to learn about. Um, you're able to help people, whoever they may be, and to really connect to them. And that's just such a beautiful gift. The unfortunate side is your gift is so blunt. That's great. That's great. The unfortunate thing is how some people react to it. They don't understand. They're not able to appreciate the analytical basis of your thoughts. They're not able, some people, a lot of people really love this about you, and how you're able to think deeply about their problems, and to give them a solution, sometimes not necessarily in the most ego gratifying of ways, of you need to change this, you need to change that, you're doing this wrong, this isn't done enough. And that can set some people off. But my advice to you on this is this: don't care. It doesn't matter, as long as you offer your analytical perspective, and as long as you simply just do your best to be as thoughtful as possible with that person. And that is important. Like, let's not just say, "Oh, who cares?" Let's just be critical, and whatever else will happen. Um, it is important to try and connect to people a bit more before you offer up that just bluntness. Again, it's a great gift. People like me who are mentally driven, just like you, are going to appreciate it. It still might rub us a little bit the wrong way, like, oh, that wasn't the most positive criticism ever, but that was constructive. Still, some effort to curb that critical faculty, or rather, to see, it's a fine line, because you shouldn't change who you are, but just learning how to not curb but to present that critical faculty in a bit more of a personable way, a bit wider, maybe talking about some other stuff before offering up that bluntness, that could really go a long ways, because some people, whether you like it or not, they're just so emotional. And they're just, I mean, we were all emotional, but some people, for example, with Mercury in let's say the most emotional we can get in certain respects, a Sun in Leo, Mercury in Leo, or a Sun in Aries, Mercury in Aries, or even, let's just do all the fire combinations, or a Sun in Sag, Mercury in Sag, or the water combinations. Um, though they're going to be a bit more open to your earthy Virgoan perspective, the water ones, I mean, all of the above are going to be, especially the fire ones, are going to go, oh, did they? And so they'll go to places that you won't even imagine them going, because you're just so naturally humble. You're just trying to help, and it seemed like that you were just offering some good perspective. And quite frankly, more times than not, as long as you're not just trying to like break somebody down, which it really isn't in Virgo's nature, but sometimes when they're, in a bad mood, that can come out, and you can find yourself being nitpicky. Uh, not not very fun. But more often than not, you have such a wonderful, devoted nature that naturally cares and naturally wants to help and heal and nurture, that people don't see. People can miss out on that when the words are so blunt, because again, they just don't think like us mercurial beings. They're not focused on problem solving. They're focused on it's hard to even describe what they're focused on. With the fire combinations, for example, they're more focused on how good they're seeming to others, how well they're seeming. And even if you give them the best advice in the world, the most poignant and pointed and just incredibly helpful, that you yourself would go, oh my God, I would love to hear that if I was in that situation. If somebody's just not in the right mindset to accept that criticism, and especially, as I was saying before, with the fire energies, it's really important to remember this. If they're around other people, it's not gonna, again, the best advice in the world can't make that person understand and then actually implement those changes. And indeed, if that person is in a situation where they feel vulnerable, or if their whole mindset is predicated on never being wrong, never seeming vulnerable, etc., etc., typical ego obstruction of thought, clear thinking, and problem solving, they're not going to accept it, and indeed they're going to vilify you, either up openly, or not. If it's fire, it'll be open. If it's water, they'll be a little bit confused, or a little bit hurt, even though they'll have heard you a little bit better. Now, I'm saying all this to, again, tell you two things. Don't care about other people's reactions, as long as you're coming from a good place, and as long as you're doing your best to help. And important qualification, as long as you are trying to connect to that person and trying to not hurt their feelings, trying to just doing your best to be considerate of that person. So that's the first thing. Um, and really, it's just important for you guys, because you have sensitive nerves, just like us Geminis. And having Mercury, it's important. You probably already know this because you're just so damn smart. But with Mercury and Virgo, Mercury in Virgo and Mercury in Gemini are two of the only placements that are in dignity that Mercury rules, and so that we are naturally, as sun sign, you know, mercurial beings, and mercurial beings, which is on its own, we are more. Our nervous system is extremely sensitive, and so it can be rather traumatizing if you're offering up that perspective out of just care, out of love, and somebody throws it in your face and indeed then doesn't like you for it. And it's very sad to see this when it happens. It doesn't happen all that often because of just how wonderfully thoughtful you guys are. And so even if somebody does act like that and you're taken aback at first, you're able to then collect your thoughts to figure out what's going on here. How can I help? How can I, what shouldn't I help with? Like, what is out of my control? What can I do? And that's another important thing about this combination is, again, there's got to be a certain point where you just don't care